Hello, everyone. Welcome to another special edition on education. My name is Dr. I. I have been hosting a number of trainings related to education. So if you missed any of my earlier trainings, please make sure to enter replay in the comment section, and I will make sure to give you a copy of the replay link. So in the last 5 weeks or so, and I have been doing a training on this topic pretty much based on what parents need to know to future-proof the next generation. So this training is kind of a summary of what I did before, so that you can have a bird's eye view of what I discussed so far. But if you want to watch each episode in much depth, so please make sure to get the replay link. The first training is the real danger of an exam-based education. The second training is the truth about your children's social media addiction. Number 3 training is using social media as a career building tool. And number 4 is the biggest challenge facing today's students. And number 5, which is what I did last week, I discussed what has teaching in the classroom for 10 plus years and 2 decades in education taught me about education and success. And so today's training, as I mentioned earlier, is almost like a summary of what I did before. And I promise you that I will be dropping so much value. And we are going to discuss 5 secrets that parents need to know if you are thinking about future-proofing your own children. I mean, who doesn't want to future-proof their own children, right? So by the way, I'm live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch. And if you are watching me live, let me know in the comment section where you are watching me live from, social media-wise and geographically speaking. So before I dive into the 5 specific reasons, and just in case this is actually the first time that you watch me go live to talk about education, so why do you need to listen to me? And I just want to quickly and briefly mention my background so I can add some credibility to show you that I'm actually not wasting your time here. And my name, as I mentioned earlier, and Dr. I. And I got my master's degree from Syracuse University. I got my PhD from the University of Maryland. Both of them are in the United States. I taught in the classroom for 10 plus years, and I spent almost 2 decades in higher education. And after being in the classroom for so many years, and I decided, I concluded the current education model is broken on so many levels. And I decided to, part of the problem or part of the solution. So I decided to be part of the solution to build a new alternative education model in which learning is fun, is relevant, and is transformative. So that's what I did. I left my associate professor position and started to grow my own school, which is Classroom Without Walls. And so far, my work has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Pearson Education, Today Show, Inside Higher Education, and quite a few different places. So that, in a nutshell, I hope can give you more credibility to contextualize what I'm about to share with you. And if you are a parent, do let me know if you are a parent and if you have specific questions related to online learning, homeschooling, and I can probably share a few tips with you, okay? So I'm just going to quickly check to see if I'm actually live on LinkedIn. Now I'm going to get started on today's training. Okay, so 5 secrets that parents need to know to future-proof your own children. Okay, so let's begin with the first one. And feel free to take notes And I'm going to drop so much value. And also, I'm going to make sure you stay until the end. I will show you an alternative model that you can use to future-proof, right? So I will discuss quite a few missing links in today's education, and that is not working. But what is working and what can I do? I will give you some specific project ideas that you can implement from home, even if you are not an educator, okay? So the first one, so academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to help your children become future ready. And I have a few specific points to back this up, okay? So first, everyone is looking at academic performance. And so my parents, they came to me and they asked me, hey, Dr. I, if I want to future-proof my own children, like, like 4.0, like academic performance, this and that. But I always tell the parents, hey, well-intentioned parents, do you actually know first, for example, so first, right, GPA, for those of you watching this right now or watching this on replay, and if you are outside the US, what GPA means is a grade point average. So academic performance, listen to this, is actually inversely related to innovation orientation. If I ask you right now, do you want your children to be innovative? Of course, I want my children to be innovative, to be creative, to be critical, to make a difference. However, if that is the case, if you are only using GPA to help your children to be more creative and innovative, you are missing the bigger picture. Okay, so grade point average academic performance is only inversely related to GPA. That's the first reason why academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to help your children be future ready. Okay, so number two, so let's talk about high achieving schools. Do you know children who attend high achieving schools, they are more likely to have addiction issues, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, sexual abuse, all sorts of addiction issues compared to children who are attending an average school, right? So this is a common mistake, including myself, before I started homeschooling my own children, that we all tend to make. And we want to choose the best school district for our children, right? In terms of ranking, in terms of competitiveness, in terms of academic performance. Here, I have some bad news for you parents. Children attending those high achieving, high performance schools, they are more likely to suffer from mental health, have mental health related issues. Again, another point to show academic performance is only the tip of the iceberg to be future ready. Point number three, okay, talking about degree versus experience. I want to ask you, which one do you think is more important to help your children become future ready? Degree or experience? most parents probably will be thinking, oh yeah, degree. And most parents, again, well-intentioned parents, think that our children have to go to middle school so they can go to high school, so they eventually can go to college and then find a job. So that is the case many years ago. And in this day and age, you do not have to follow this linear fashion anymore. Experience has become a lot more important than degrees. I don't know if you actually read the news. A few weeks ago, Google actually announced and they are launching their own career certifications to replace the traditional 4-year college in certain fields, including user experience design, data analyst, and project management. So in those 3 specific fields, people can take Google's their own 6-month career certification, and Google will actually use that to replace the 4-year college. Think about it. The implication is profound, right? So I don't think Google is the first company who are launching their own academy, who are launching their own training institutions. So many companies have already joined this. Why? Because the cost to onboard a college grad is so expensive. It makes no sense that companies, especially the popular ones, are not involved in this process to co-educate, to train the next generation, so that when they are actually onboarding those students, they are not going to invest in so much time and money to educate the students. So here are the 3 reasons I want to illustrate why academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to future-proof the next generation. So that is the first reason. I can actually go on and on. Okay, speaking of the third subpoint, which is experience is more important than degree. And Elon Musk earlier tweeted, people asked him, hey, we want to work for Tesla. What can we do? He said that PhD is definitely not required. Not required. And he even tweeted, I don't even care if you graduate from high school or not to work for me. Right? Incredible. And then going based on what I mentioned earlier, of experience is more important than degree. And Google, a few years ago, they mentioned in an interview that test scores are useless as a hiring criteria. They no longer use test scores. And last time I checked, which was a few weeks ago, and 20 plus organizations are no longer require college degree, going under that point. The third point, which is degree is not as important as experience. 20 plus organizations are no longer require a college degree in order to work for those companies. And I'm not talking about no-name organizations. Those organizations include Google, Apple, Starbucks, and Hilton, Costco, many of the brands that we are already familiar with, household names. And I think this, mark my word, I think this trend is going to increase. So parents, if you are still looking at academic learning and treat that as if that is the only thing that your children need to get into an Ivy League school, to have a fulfilling life, a happy career, you are missing the bigger picture. Okay, so that's secret number 1, and I'm going to discuss secret number 2. If you are live this training, benefiting from this, learning something, please give me some hearts, give this a share, and tag some friends who can benefit from this training. So number 2 is So number 2 is social media is actually a really powerful career building tool. Okay. Wow. So many people and so many parents and educators, they think social media is the root of all evil. And they think that social media is so bad. And in fact, many schools, the primary school level, high school level, they actually ban social media, right? And parents take away their technology. Every time when they see their children on TikTok, on Instagram, they will be yelling and screaming at their own children, get off that phone, right? What are you doing? Stop wasting your time. And so if you are the parent I'm talking about right now, I have an important message for you. Social media is not the root of all evil. In fact, if you understand how to use social media is actually a very powerful way to boost our children's career, to help them practice digital networking, to give them a leg up in today's career field. Okay, and I have lots of evidence to support this. So LinkedIn Learning, okay, every year at the beginning of the year, LinkedIn will actually publish a list of most needed soft skills and hard skills that companies are looking for in their hiring process. And earlier this year in 2020, so LinkedIn, as always, they published their article of hard skills and soft skills. So under hard skills, they have marketing, storytelling, story selling, all those as a very important 21st century skill. Guess what? We are in today's show me economy. Traditionally, you have a resume, right? On your resume, you are telling the recruiter how good you are. I got this degree, I got that certification, I got this master degree, I got this PhD, blah, blah, blah. That is over. We are entering today's show me economy. Don't just tell me how good you are on a piece of paper, but actually show me how good you are, right? And the best way to show others how good you are is actually embracing social media and creative technologies. You say that you are so good at launching a social media marketing campaign, but can you actually show me? You say that you are really good at graphic design. You even got a degree, but show me how good you are. You say that you are really good at persuasion. Show me how good you are at persuasion, right? I hope you got my point. And so LinkedIn is an example. And also there is an institution. Let me share my screen with you. And they talk about the future of education and skills 2030. And this is a really powerful chart that I use myself, and or flywheel, and however you want to call this. And here is core foundation. And when you click on core foundations, so what are the core foundation? What are the core skills that our children need in order to be future ready, right? Talking about literacy, physical and mental health, data literacy and physical health, social emotional foundation, data literacy, digital literacy. Okay, so digital literacy, digital storytelling, and using social media to share story, to create a social movement, all those are very important future ready skills. So if you are banning social media, if you are banning technology from your children from school, where on earth are our children going to actually develop those skills, right? So I want to also add this up by saying that and I also want to add this up by saying at another point, sorry, my son is playing, so it distracts me a lot. I lost my train of thought. Can you be a bit quiet? And so besides OECD, the future of education showing that digital literacy is a very important skill. So earlier this year, a few weeks ago, I interviewed Esther Wojcicki, who is known as the godmother of Silicon Valley. And she is the mom of the CEO of YouTube, the CEO of 23andMe, and a doctor. So I interviewed her, and she actually shared with me she added an additional M to the traditional STEM. So we all know STEM, right? So now there are more and more educators talking about adding an A, which stands for arts. And so when I interviewed Esther, she added an additional M. The additional M she added is media. So I want to share with you, and I can go on and on with hardcore evidence to show you digital literacy, social media storytelling, story selling, and leveraging technology to create a social movement, to create content. All those are very, very important skills. Okay, and I want to share also. Yeah, you can see. So there's a really well-known theory called the Bloom taxonomy. And so Bloom taxonomy and is like almost like a learning hierarchy. So let me remove the banner. Again, I have a workbook accompanies this training. So if you are interested in downloading a copy of my workbook, please leave workbook in the comment section. You will have the link to all the studies that I mentioned, and you will have all those 5 secrets. And so Bloom taxonomy is this hierarchy, is a learning hierarchy talking about lower cognitive development and a higher cognitive development. Okay. So the lowest 3 levels are lower cognitive level. And when it comes to children's learning, you don't want your children to spend too much time on the lower cognitive level. You want to practice their higher cognitive level, right? And so the lowest 3 levels include what? The lowest level, let me try to use a different color. I hope you can see this. So the lowest 3 levels include remember, understand, and apply. And remember, understanding, kind of regurgitating information, memorizing for exams. That's why I resigned from my teaching position, because I got so tired of teaching to the textbook, teaching to an exam, right? To really help our children prepare for the exams, to score as high as possible on those exams, even though I know, even though they mastered taking those exams, it does not mean they master life. There's still so much they need to learn in order to truly master life. But those are the 3 lower cognitive levels, and they are already being replaced by AI, artificial intelligence. So what you want to do is to actually go to the higher level. The higher level includes, see if I can change a different color. It's probably hard for you to see, but the upper 3 levels include analyze, evaluate, and create. Okay, the highest level of learning that you can really facilitate your children to develop is to create. You know, at Classroom Without Walls, my own school, and also I use this with my own homeschooling approach. We do learn, reflect, and create. We follow a cycle. Okay, learn, reflect, and create. So the highest level is always creation, right? So ask your children to create whatever they're really passionate about. And can you ask them to create a podcast like what I'm doing right now, actually going live on different social media channels to actually talk about their passion? Even better, can they practice digital networking. I teach my own students how to do hashtag search, how to be a professional stalker, and how to network with the movers and shakers within the field that they are passionate about, to get those people's attention, to collaborate with the movers and shakers. A quick story. Recently, one student who graduated from my 3-month Life Accelerator program. And if you are interested in joining the program, please make sure to message me. And our next cohort actually starts on Monday. So one student who actually graduated from the program, and through my help and coaching, she launched her very first live streaming podcast. And guess what? And she had me on as her very first guest. And that one episode got her a job. And she's now the marketing director at a company. She's a sophomore in college. She has not even graduated from college. In the past, I have also helped younger students to achieve a similar level of success. Okay, so ask your children to create. Can they create? I mentioned using podcast example. Can they create a poster? Can they design infographic? Can they launch a webinar? Can they actually talk to the camera? Can they actually create something based on what they have learned and show others, teach others what they have understood? So if they can really do this, learn, reflect, and create, it means that they have internalized the knowledge. Okay, so that's the second secret. And the third secret is the third secret is emotional intelligence is actually 2 times more predictive of a person's success than IQ. And so let me share some studies. Again, in the traditional learning environment, most parents, most educators are looking at the IQ, right? But I'm trying to show you EQ, emotional intelligence, is actually more predictive of a person's long-term success than IQ. So here, let me share my screen with you again. And last year, LinkedIn, they analyzed so many jobs. They published their global talent trends. So in these global talent trends, they actually identified 3 major trends that are transforming our workplace. And number 1 is actually soft skills. Emotional intelligence is one aspect under soft skills. Okay, so here is another study from Adobe. And last year, they analyzed 2 million job postings and 2 million resumes, and to really understand and try to study what are people looking for when they're hiring people to work for them. Okay, and they identified so many important skills that companies are looking for. Like, for example, creativity is actually a very important one. And I want to show you this. But here's the funny part, right? So those important soft skills, creativity, creative problem solving, are actually not being nurtured in today's school. So almost 70% of educators agree to this argument, that there is not enough emphasis on creative problem solving in today's curriculum. And but guess what? Is this an important skill? Yes, right? 2 million job postings, 2 million resumes. This is those 5 are important skills that companies are looking for: communication, creativity, collaboration, creative problem solving, and critical thinking. If you go back to my last point, using social media as a career building tool, and if you are coaching, if you can definitely join my program. But if you are interested in helping your children to launch a podcast, through the podcast, they are actually, especially the video podcast, because they are also practicing building their soft skills. They are practicing communication, collaboration, and they can also create creative graphics to promote their episode. They are utilizing all of those skills, okay? And so that's how important. I hope those studies showed you. But remember what the Adobe study mentioned, and almost 70% of organizations think, almost 70% of educators believe that creative problem solving, those soft skills are not being nurtured in today's curricula. I keep that in mind. And also, talking about creativity, here's another very interesting study and conducted by NASA, and they want to study how creative our children are, and in terms of their ability to engage in divergent thinking. So they asked the young children how many ways can they think of using a paper clip, and the 4 years old, 5 years old, they are like this, and that, hundreds of ways to use a paper clip. And so 5 years later, so those children, they scored 98% in terms of creativity. So 5 years later, the researchers asked the same group of children, and how many ways can they think of using paper clip? So 98% dropped to 50%. So another 5 years later, they studied the same group of children, and the number continued to drop. Eventually, they graduated from college, emerging working professionals. The number dropped to 2%. Can you believe it? From 98% to 2%. What happened? So what happened is that our children have become more educated, more conditioned, and they lose their critical thinking. They are doing way too many multiple choice exams. They're always looking at the right answer, that they lose their ability to take risks, and they become highly risk aversive. Okay, so that's the second one. And this is actually the third one. So the number 4 secret I want to share with you is number 4. Number 4 is I discover, after teaching the classroom for so many years, and especially after I later became an education consultant and started running my own school, and I discover how important it is to actually understand a little bit about neuroscience. And do you actually know, human beings, we have not only one brain, we actually have 3 brains, okay? So let me share my screen with you real quick. I actually have, maybe this one's better. Can you see? I'm trying to find, okay, so this one's not bad. So human beings, we actually have 3 brains, okay? I don't know how to make this picture bigger, but I hope you can see it. So what are the 3 brains? And after you get to understand this a little bit, you really have to ask yourself, why we don't learn this, at school, especially for educators. I can't tell you how important it is as an educator, as a mom, to understand a little bit more about neuroscience so that I can teach better. I can teach in a way that children are meant to learn. Okay, so what are the 3 brains? I'll make sure I get this spelling. So we have 3 brains. The neocortex, which is our thinking brain, the higher functioning rational decision making. So that is the thinking brain, the neocortex. The limbic brain, which is our feeling, the feeling brain. And the last one, the reptilian brain is actually our being brain, and it's our body. And this talks about the instinct, fear, fight, and flight. Okay, so when you think about this, when you are reading a book, when your children go to school and they are taking a class, they are learning something. So when they are learning something, they absorb information. Information will actually go somewhere in their brain. So within limbic system, the emotional, so there is a part called amygdala. So amygdala is actually an emotional filter. So when information goes inside our brain and the emotional filter amygdala, so when you are in a calm and relaxed state, so amygdala sends information to the higher function of the brain, which is the neocortex, right? You practice thinking and rationalizing and analyzing, and the neurons are wiring together. You are actually learning something, right? And however, this is where this gets really interesting. So if you are in a state of fear and being really afraid, and for example, there's a big exam. If your teacher is telling you, hey, everybody listen up, by the end of this class, there is going to be an exam, and I'm going to quiz you on everything you have learned in today's class. If you fail the quiz, I'm going to send you home. You are not going to have lunch. You are never going to have dinner. You are going to be punished, blah, blah. So when you announce that, your children automatically enter the fear state. So then when information enters the brain, the emotional filter, amygdala, and interprets the message, oh my God, this is really threatening, we're really afraid, something bad is happening. So information is automatically sent to the lower level, which is the reptilian brain, which is the fight, flight, and the freeze. So when our children are in that state, it's not the state to learn a new language, it's not the state to learn a new skill, it's not the state to be creative, it's the state to fight or flight or freeze. Okay, so why is this so powerful? Is for educators, even if you are doing homeschooling right now, it is so critical for you to actually create a safe learning space for our children. So when information comes in, information actually goes into the neocortex. They are not entering the fight or flight system. I hope this is making sense. So if you are having children younger than 8 years old, this is even more critical. Why? Because before 8 years old, our children, their analytical brain is not developed yet. And so what that means is that every single thing that you are communicating to your children is absorbing that as fact. So if you are telling your children you are so smart, they accept that as fact. If you are telling your children you are so stupid, you are so fat, you are so thin, you are such a troublemaker, you are just so annoying, you are just useless, whatever you are telling your children absorb everything into their subconscious mind as facts. Okay, so think about the implication and how much we are labeling our own children. Okay, so last but not least, number 5. So what I learned from running my own company and working with almost 3,000 students is that success is actually an outside-in journey, okay? And so many parents, including myself, the early days, we think that if we want to be successful in life, we have to check this box, check that box, having the GPA, having the academic performance, the certification, this, and that. Everything's like outside in, right? That is wrong. If you want your children to become a lifelong learner, to love learning for the sake of learning, to stay curious, to stay interested in learning more about life, to be interested in solving problems, if you want to keep their learning alive or their desire to learn alive, you have to understand that success is an inside-out journey. The more you transform the inside, the more that you are going to transform the outside. And education is not only about educating the brain, but it's more so about educating the heart. As parents, you want to show up as a facilitator. You facilitate your children to uncover what is inside their heart, what they're passionate about. Once you make that happen, your children are on their own journey to discover, to learn, because in today's information age, there is no shortage of online classes, private classes, alternative school classes, but most children, their entire educational journey has been an outside-in approach, so they have no idea what they're passionate about. Their heart is asleep. And that's why by the time they graduate from high school, or even worse, graduate from college, they still have no idea what they want to do in life. Okay, so take gap years, and even more important, spend the time to go within to understand and discover, who am I? What are my strengths? What is my personality? What are my core values? What is something that I'm passionate about? So going into the within will help your children to transform the without. This is a very important journey, but it is so missing in today's education. So my favorite thought leader, one of my favorite thought leader is Daniel Pink. And he talks about this intrinsic learning, learning for the sake of learning and to keep that inner desire alive. So 3 key factors for intrinsic desire. And mastery, autonomy, and purpose. So if you want your children to always be interested in learning, to always, be a lifelong learner, first, stop doing reward and punishment. That does not work. If you do reward punishment for a long time, that is only going to take away your children's intrinsic desire to learn. Okay, so what you need to do instead is to help them experience mastery. Wow, I learned something, I mastered something. Show them incremental progress, and also give them the autonomy to learn, to decide what they want to learn, how they want to learn, and most importantly, a sense of purpose. Why do I want to learn this, right? Learning has to be personal once they discover that internal desire, internal reason. If I learn this, like for me, or I read this story, or like I can use myself. For me, the desire for me to learn English is to study abroad when I was much younger. And but when I was young, my parents asked me to learn English. I was like, why do I have to learn this language? Now interested, hashtag. But later, once I figured out my purpose, I want to be away from China. I want to study abroad. And I now all of a sudden has a purpose, which is to learn English if I want to study abroad in the United States or in any other country. So you want to, again, help your own children to discover their purpose, right? So they love games. Maybe they want to be a gamer. So if you want to be a gamer, then you have to learn coding, right? So to really go with it. And so here, those are the 5 secrets that I want to share with everyone. I want to kind of summarize everything again. Number 1 is academic learning is only the tip of the iceberg to be future ready. Number 2, social media is actually a powerful career building tool. And number 3, emotional intelligence is more important than IQ. And number 4, neuroscience, we discuss the 3 brains that human beings have, why it is so important to create a safe learning space for our children. And last but not least, is success is actually an inside-out journey. So based on those 5 important discoveries, and everything I share here right now is what I discussed at my own school and my 3 months Life Accelerator program. And we just finished the last cohort, and the parents and students came to me with tears in their eyes, saying how much the program has transformed their life and give them a sense of purpose, a sense of direction in life, and also help them network with super successful 7-8-figure entrepreneurs, business leaders, creative artists, thought leaders in their own space. And so this is actually the curriculum that I have created based on everything that I shared with you so far. And so let me see if I can. So I actually created and I actually have. Let me see if you can see my screen right now. Anyway, never mind. I can just explain. So based on everything I shared, I actually thank you so much, Dot. Hey, Christine, and great to see you too. Thank you for all those comments. And so based on, I shared really powerful, everything I share with you right now, is based on my almost 2 decades experience in higher education, and also what I do as an education consultant, my ongoing learning journey, and listening to podcasts, going to conferences. And I hope you treat everything I shared with you seriously and really think about how what I have discussed so far going to help you be a better mom or be a better dad. Okay, so anyway, based on those 5 things I share, 5 secrets I share with you, I created my own curriculum. Which is an iceberg model. So the tip of the iceberg is traditional school-based learning. Earlier we were talking about GPA. So that's the tip of the iceberg, okay? You need the entire iceberg to be future ready. So what my school does is, so that's my Life Accelerator. So we cover everything that is underneath the tip of the iceberg. So our tagline is, we future-proof the next generation by teaching you what schools are not, right? So school covers the tip of the iceberg. So what we cover is new media literacy, and they launch a podcast. They practice digital storytelling, digital story selling. They work on their LinkedIn profile. I also coach the students how to practice digital networking. As I shared earlier, one of my recent grads, she hasn't even graduated from college yet, and I coach her to launch her podcast. And through that very first episode, she got a job. Amazing, her dream job. So new media. And another component we cover is life skill. Remember what I said earlier, emotional intelligence and soft skills are 2 times more predictive of a person's long-term success than IQ. Very, very important life skills, right? In my program, we cover collaboration, communication, creativity, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. Okay, all those are very important life skills. And we don't just teach you, we actually give you opportunities to collaborate, to actually listen, to communicate, as opposed to the traditional way you're sitting on a chair and memorizing facts and information. That's not how we operate at the Classroom Without Walls Life Accelerator program. Last but not least, we cover mindset. We help you unlearn, and we teach you how plastic our brain is and how you can rewire your brain and we also teach you vision board, positive affirmations, all of that. Okay, so we cover, this is a 3 months Life Accelerator program, and we cover those 3 aspects. I have lots of testimonials on my LinkedIn page, and I also shared a few, like last year, recently, when another graduate of the program said that he learned more 10 days in my program than 2 years at his high school. Incredible, right? So we do a mixed age model, and if your children are 13 above that, so please reach out to me and let's have a chat. And thank you so much for watching. And if you are interested in getting a copy of my workbook, so please write down workbook in the comment section and get it. Thank you so much. Have a great one, everyone.